Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with some of my favorite guests to have on the show.
This is a mighty special one.
Yes, those crazy coconuts. Today we have David, Wyatt, and Edward, both of Mighty Coconut, the studio behind Walkabout Mini Golf.
Say no more.
Both have been on the show before. I believe this would technically be Edward's third time on, and this will be David's second. So, Rob and Mulder better watch out.
I never want to leave. I'll just stay on. I'm joining the podcast. Third host. Let's go.
We have another developer, Robin Mulder, that often jokes she's the number one most frequent guest. Yeah, four or five. Yeah. So,
it's like rolling up the sleeves. Let's go.
Yeah, I think we need to make this an active leaderboard.
It's like the SNL, like the Five Timers Club. You'd have like a green jacket or something people get. Or
we got to start sending a pen or something like that.
Exactly.
We got to make this a novelty, but
but this is a good one.
Yeah,
I already know this is going to be a great episode. I love both the personalities that are on here. I love professionally what both of these individuals bring to the table for one of the absolute best games you'll ever play in VR.
Yeah, today we got David Wyatt, head of communications. We got Edward as well, who is famously behind hiding the balls. And it's funny, I got some funny comments with the Mars Garden course, but we'll get to that. But I know you two have been on before, but before I go too much of a tangent, do you each want to do a quick introduction of yourself? Maybe tell them a little bit about what you do currently at Mighty Coconut in case things have changed since the last time we talked.
Absolutely. After you, Edward.
All right, we're doing it the opposite of alphabetically, I guess.
Yes.
I am Edward. I am the lead modeler at Walkabout Mini Golf. I guess Mighty Coconut in general, but mostly let's just talk Walkabout Mini Golf. Let's just talk golf balls. And so I look after the modeling team who take the beautiful ideas and layouts from Don and Henning and Lucas and sort of coalesce them into being a bit more real, a bit more final, and then just give absolute headaches to everyone who comes after us on the team and has to make it run.
Indeed. And after those people make it run, my job is to head up the communications team, and which encompasses community management, all the content we create for our various social media platforms, as well as PR, but also partnerships, which is relevant to what we're talking about today. So anytime we want to do anything kind of with the game artwork and lore outside of the game, that's when I kind of step in and help create more fun for the players elsewhere. So yeah, it's my pleasure.
The community side of things, managing that on any of the platforms is pretty intense.
Let alone one like Walkabout. That's so important.
I'm really like, for some reason it was finally sinking in, even though we've had David on before. But like the reality of like, wow, it's literally not just one thing with Walkabout. They're on every freaking platform and active like daily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we try to kind of keep up with people wherever they like to hang out and express themselves. So across traditional social media, on our official Discord, there's a whole bunch of different Facebook groups, including the main Walkabout Mini Golf community. And we're really lucky in that we have a super positive community that's like multi-generational, and they help each other out. There's really kind of a culture there of looking out for each other and trying to keep things, fun for everyone. But I think it's something that a lot of VR devs, especially when they're first getting into it, they make the game, they spend months or years making their experience. They don't think about, now you have to actually run this community every day and, monitor those people and work with moderators who are so invaluable. You gotta really it's like an ongoing daily discipline just to kind of keep people engaged, make sure that you're building something compelling so that people will, because, they can only spend so much time in headset. And the other times they just want to connect with each other or learn about trick shots or Easter eggs or other things that are going on. So you gotta keep them engaged and surprised and keep it fun.
For me, I think the saying is God works hard, but the Walkabout Mini Golf social media team works harder.
Oh no, it's no joke. I mean, the word daily challenge in itself assumes there will be a daily challenge. And I know on your Discord every day there is a daily challenge. So I'm like, when you think of like, okay, if your function in life is to come up with these daily challenge, that's not an easy task to keep coming up with a daily challenge.
Well, and their social media team crushes it as well too. If you engage with Walkabout on like Twitter, they're going to respond to you with GIFs, custom GIFs made in Walkabout. Don't even get me started. What's it called? The Shack Dispatch. I believe that's I love the Shack Dispatch. Yep. So I mean the game itself is great. The community side is great. The social media side is great.
The people that make it all happen. Everyone we've spoken to has been great.
Mm-hmm. So. We always say that's the product when people that love games make games.
Yeah.
And honestly, where really the people who are the greatest are the players. I know it sounds a bit trite, but as David was saying, the community is so lovely. I really cannot stress this enough. One of my favorite things is when a level comes out and someone doesn't like it. It's not, Walkabout is losing their touch, or, these guys, the devs don't get that. The response is always, this one's just not for me. It's so positive that even when they've just paid for something that they don't enjoy, they understand that we're all just trying to, do a lot of, of our fun things here that we're trying to put in stuff that we like. And they go, okay, well, I guess this one didn't tickle me just right, but I bet the next one will. And it boggles the mind how freaking lovely everyone is.
It's really true. It's really, it sort of doesn't happen. I mean, in gaming communities, I think people just accept a certain level of, trash talking and that sort of thing. And we get just like a peppering of it occasionally, but for the most part, I think it's sort of like camping. People that self-select to go camping are generally not there to like knock stuff over and like have a bad time. They're there to enjoy nature. I think the same is true of like a calm, peaceful, beautiful mini golf world, which they come in because this is a cozy space for them to hang out with people they care about or get some Zen time. They may, rage at a shot or something like that. But for the most part, they're there to kind of like enjoy themselves and enjoy each other. And circling back to what you're saying, Brian, about the community challenges, that's one of our wonderful longtime moderators named Froman who puts those together. He also does trivia. So we're always trying to really, like since day one, really build like this larger sense of community, both in the fictional sense of like Shack Dispatches of like, okay, this place is run by teenagers. There's all kinds of hijinks going on, with this shack and how this mini golf place business is run. But also just knowing that a lot of players come at it for different reasons. Some people really want to like achieve things and best each other. And some people are just there for the discovery and kind of look for skeletons that are around every corner. And just, so we're always trying to kind of help them not only learn new things about the game, but kind of show them how to be a good community member, teach each other, help each other out, invite each other into games if you maybe don't have a group to play with. We feel like it's an important opportunity to just help people have a little safe place over in our corner. And then it doesn't mean everything's like always G-rated and always like super super thumbs up all the time. But we do try to hold the line that there's something positive going on here, and that we want people to be engaged and really have a sense of belonging. So it's a nice thing.
Make no mistake, there's a dark side to Mighty Coconut. There's the dead employees in the courses.
Well, what's cool is, and this is true because the community is very well behaved. I find very helpful, thoughtful, but some of what makes up the community are people who also play Rust on their PC and stuff. So that like there's something about what Walkabout brings to the table that will bring out the best in people who in other servers might not be that same way. And it's just the law of numbers. I mean, it's there. But I personally never had a bad experience with anybody in the community. I mostly see the Discord stuff.
How
Yeah.
can you be negative in Walkabout? It's such a positive, bubbly.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, who would have known? Who would have known? That's the formula that puts it all together, that brings families together and friends together and strangers together. It's just so, even when we got our headset, I'm like, how is this possible? It's mini golf. It's got such a great rating. We have to try it. And then the first time we freaking played it, it was like, oh, I get it now.
Well, and then
it's mind boggling.
the longer you play it too, I mean, I've gotten so much more of an appreciation for
Keep going back to it too.
Well, you get so much in a course. So you have you have 36 holes, you have the normal and the hard mode. That's the surface level. And then as you dig deep, you also get, which I'll reference more in a moment, but you have the ball finding aspect, kind of like
one of my favorites.
Yeah, just a scavenge hunt of it. And then what I've gotten so much more of an appreciation for the last 6 months, the fox hunts to get the new putters as well too. There's so much in a course, and with that I have to ask, the Mars Garden course was probably the hardest course to find balls that I've experienced yet.
I still haven't found them all.
I mistakenly threw some joking shade, busted balls a bit towards Edwards.
We always blame Edward.
Love you guys
The
too.
Whenever we can't find the balls, we go, damn it, Edward. Edward was, somebody knocked over his oatmeal or something
I hope your ears
this
are
morning, but then it came out that you didn't hide the balls in Mars Garden, but I think you said you're taking them back. So what's the story with the balls in Mars Garden?
So for the last couple of levels, we've all been trying different jobs. Behind the scenes, we often throw jobs around, to try and figure out how to do things faster and better, because the more time we can save somewhere, the more we can just spend on something else and put more stuff in. And so Ryan has been hiding the lost balls at the moment. They are one of our incredible tech artists. They come up with so many of the beautiful effects that really just make everything pop. And they have been hiding the balls. And I'll go over and check them afterwards. And the problem is, we've been trying to make them a bit easier. We started making them harder with Mist, thinking, well, Mist is famously very difficult. And then it sort of spiraled out of control. And we've been going, okay, don't worry, we'll make it easier. We'll make it easier. But we've become too good at hiding the balls. Because I looked at the Mars balls and I went, oh yeah, those are nice and easy. Everyone will get those. No problem there. No. And then all of the feedback on the day was, who is the psychopath who hid them? What is their damage? What's wrong with them? And I'm going, oh, no.
That's hilarious.
I love the challenge, though. I love cursing Edward's name. I love,
In all friendliness.
the straw.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
But I please don't make them too easy.
I
for
reckon
real.
if we make at least 10 of them nice and easy, because you need 10 or putt under par to unlock the hard course, and we need to have at least 10 of them findable so that people can go enjoy the hard course. And then 8, I think we just become unreasonably cruel for and, curse everyone's enjoyment, and I drink the tears of the players. Just a reasonable goal.
Do you get a big appreciation when you see the huge feedback of,
I can't find it.
yeah, does that tickle you?
You really do. I'm so sorry, everyone, but your suffering brings me endless joy.
Well, it's like I feel so obligated
It's
to
an
get
art, but it's an art. I just hate when I struggle to find a ball, and then when I do, I'm like, how did I not? Sometimes I've accused you as a company of, like, the ball's really not there. When you look at it the first time, it's only going to show up like on the third look in that area, because I can't believe that I've missed where it was. It would seem so obvious, but
I always want to get them all.
great job.
Some of them are so cool looking.
Mhm.
And so if you have a couple of them missing, you don't know what that one missing is. Could be the coolest ball
I
ever.
got an off the cuff question, just totally off the cuff. Will
Mhm.
there ever be like ball customization? Like you can have your own ball.
So it's something that we've discussed. I know the discussion happened earlier on when we didn't have as much sort of tech space. Effectively, for a huge period of time, we've had a gargantuan amount of programmers tearing the game apart and rebuilding it from scratch, which seemed reasonable enough. It was made by one guy at the start, and it wasn't made to expand like this. but it's a live service game, which means that people are playing it and we're constantly pushing new content. So they can't go away and just build a new one from the ground up. They had to surgically cut out bits of code and replace it as it was going. And that has been it's like doing surgery on an ant while skydiving. It is ridiculously difficult. And they're so freaking talented. And they've effectively finished. So now we've got this incredible sort of amount of amazingly talented people who know this game inside and out. And they're now putting in weird things into the game that we've got now the talent and the resources to sort of stop replacing stuff with the same stuff but better, that now they can put new stuff in. And it's just a really exciting time to think about what the next year of Walkabout's going to be.
Indeed.
We've come to learn we cannot predict what you all are doing and coming out with. We know that, you have a future and you've got your whiteboards and it's filled with ideas and all, but zero predictability. We just like little glimmers of hopes of knowing like certain courses are coming, as far as like the laser one that is your favorite.
The laser, well, all the evil layers ones. Yeah. I'll say I know there's 2 of them so far.
We're hoping for another one of those.
Yeah. I love the ease.
And then we can assume IPs that you're working with. It's just like, damn.
I love the idea of the custom balls, selfishly, so I could have a purple Ruff Talk VR one, but I do understand
a black and white one.
The dangers of letting people load in whatever they want to. There is also
penis balls. Are we allowed to say penis? Oh my God. Balls. Like, are we allowed to talk about genitals here?
Very phallic balls.
Yes, you can talk about whatever you want.
Very phallic balls,
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's the only problem. You put some hairs on there.
I was going to say the hairy one.
Yeah.
Give me the
that's the only problem.
Better options.
This would be the outtake. This would be a clip. This would be a clip for Instagram. But I think, Brian, what you're talking about there, like the surprises is really something we think a lot about. Like we want people to be, because we know that like not every player is like tuned into every post or on Discord or, playing all the time. And so we want the occasional player to still kind of have a sense of how things work. Like, okay, of course it's going to drop and I need to, plan to charge up my headset and get in, update the game. But then we want to have lots of surprises for people that are there very frequently so that they don't just know everything as it's coming and like, oh, okay, yeah, another mini golf course. We want to constantly be throwing things at them. And I think that's part of the fun of like discovering a crusty mini golf place in your town or when you're on vacation is like they all do things differently. Sometimes they have different activities there. Sometimes the way they put together the actual gameplay is just totally janky in their own sort of way. And so like we want to keep it that same sort of crusty, fun, surprising set of things that are sort of popping up, even though people do need to kind of plan for, okay, I see a video and the course is coming out. I'm going to go and I know that it's going to happen on this time of the day so they can make some plans, but we try to interject in there some fun surprises as well. I think it's an important part of the vibe.
I think everything you do is just a lot of wow moments. Like, this is the new course. When you say like, this is the new course that's coming, it's a wow moment, right? You get the course, you load in, it's a wow moment. You'd go to the big view to look at the full course, always a wow moment. And then every hole, because we always like to say that there's always going to be some new mechanic that you seem to come up with, some new style, some new way to play. And again, it's another wow moment. And then the feeling of finding. So it's just like, it's like constant, just happy things being
dopamine.
Pumped. Yeah,
dopamine
that's the exact word I'm looking. Yeah, but one after another, it's like, dude, when you see the new course in your thing and you're like, oh shit, and how excited do we get when we're in there playing? It's like, it's legit. You feel good.
Well, it's no surprise that they load you into a spot before the first hole. That first spot that you load in when you first go into the hole, into the course, is always like a really cool environment.
Did nice you watch all your balls come down?
Yeah. So
it's like, oh yeah.
It's also a game that's like, it's built perfectly for collaboration because there's so much opportunity with it. For one, you have the obvious, you can have a course collaboration, with like I know you have Michelle Martel leading the IP charge, like a beast with her background as well too. But then you also have room with things like avatars, avatar packs. And
which
even,
I think is pretty cool.
even like I do imagine cross collaboration with other games on like balls and stuff. Imagine a Demio ball, or I'm wearing their hat, a Ghost of Tabor ball. Like, dude, I would be all about that. So there's so much room for that stuff. And the other week, you guys had one with Puzzling Places drop. So do you want to tell us a little bit more? I know,
Like how it came to be.
Yeah, those are two very popular games. So I think a lot of people have heard about it. But just in case they have, you want to tell us what it is and, like you said, how it came to be.
Yeah. So Puzzling Places is a really popular indie VR game, a real cozy game. It's kind of a 3D puzzle builder where you they take either fantasy items or places or structures or real ones and break them apart into thousands of pieces, and you assemble them kind of in real space in front of you. We met those guys, I think, for the first time at MetaConnect 2023. And they have a whole lot of DLCs as well. And so we were just sort of talking shop about how that's going for them. And I think they suggested to us, like, it'd be really cool to break apart one of your maps and make a puzzle out of that. We were like, that's great. And so we just sent them over, I think, three or four models and just said, break it apart, put it back together. The tricky thing, this is something Edward could talk about, is that the way that the worlds are built is low poly, and they do a whole lot of just like editing to make sure that that the game is optimized for standalone headsets and Quest 2, Quest 3, and all the different platforms that we're on. But that means that it's not like one monolithic thing. And so if you think about like taking one of our maps and just slicing it into pieces, well, there's nothing on the back of those pieces. There's no like cross section to it. They're all just sort of hollow, like origami. It's just like if you cut up origami, it would just fall apart, right? And so these wizards over at realities.io, they took a few different maps and just they've got a capture. I forget the name of the. I think it's telemetry or something like that.
Photogrammetry.
Photogrammetry. Thank you so much. Where they go in and capture things, in a three-dimensional sort of way. And so they did that. And we wanted it to be really, really rewarding for players. If players are going to go somewhere else and experience a Walkabout thing, for us, that's no different in terms of the level of expectation. And we want to really delight people and surprise them. So we gave them Chris Raymond's score. We gave them sound effects. We gave them all sorts of things. So it would really feel like a true Walkabout experience over for them. And so they spent about a year off and on, trying different capture methods, trying different maps. And right as they were kind of revisiting the idea, as they figured out a new way to capture it, we were getting ready to remaster or drop the remaster of Cherry Blossom, one of the original courses. And they were like, that's great. We love that one. Let's do that one. That sounds like perfect timing. It was their third birthday in September and our fourth birthday. So we thought, that's a perfect time to just sync it up, do something fun. And we wanted to make it just free for their players to check out. So it would be just an easy yes for people to go in and enjoy.
I think the free model is the most Walkabout thing. Like, it didn't surprise me. I was like, this doesn't surprise me at all. Well, this is going to be free.
Remember when the Cherry Blossom remaster came and then all those new game modes, which simultaneous game mode, I say it every time. That's literal game
changer.
No
just
pun
for
intended.
time. Because it shortens the time if you're short for time.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Very
you can
good for an 8-person room, definitely.
Yeah.
But I really feel like we should talk about race mode.
Yeah.
That is
That's
evil.
a lot of fun.
I remember the first time testing it out, I was playing with, I was in a room with Lucas, Jeremy, our producer, and Don. And Lucas and Jeremy were just watching, and me and Don were playing. And I found the bug, and I got stuck, and I couldn't keep going. But at this point, I was too into it. So I'm sort of in my office, and I think my partner's having a sleep in. He gets woken up by me screaming, Don, stop, Don, I'm late. There's a bug, I'm stuck. Don, wait, stop, it's not a real race. Don.
I'm really excited about combining modes in a sinister way. So think of like gravity mode plus race mode, or things, and all the new things we have sort of coming down the line where it's like they can add extra layers of challenge and achievement, but also they can just be truly wicked in kind of that villainous layer sort of way. So we've got a lot in the works. We're going to be combining things and kind of trying to throw people off and surprise them.
And I think something that you talked about before that's really important is making sure that this isn't overwhelming, making sure it's accessible for people who don't play constantly. They can come in and there's just the main game right there, instantly accessible. But for people who keep coming back and who want more, there is so much more depth if they want to take it. So if you're coming in occasionally, it's not overwhelming. But if you want to explore, there is so much more with just extra stuff for you.
And now, speaking of accessibility, now it's going to be available on mobile phones. Just expanding. Now you can play Walkabout on the go. I freaking love it. When does the iOS version drop again?
So it'll be, by the time this episode is out, it'll be released. It comes out on October 10th. So yeah, it's going to be out there. We're starting with iOS devices. We'll get to Android just as soon as we can, but it's going to be on all modern iPads and iPhones. And it's going to be, it's really, the whole intention is to keep VR at the center, but allow people to play with more people that they care about. Because that's what we heard so much for the past 4 years from people, is that, inviting new people in, getting them into the game, spending time with them, showing them around was like the best part of the whole thing. And then for a lot of people, it would be a system seller. They would, buy VR headsets for each other, and that's been a beautiful thing. But there's a lot of people who cost is a barrier, or they're just not ready to try VR, or VR is not available in their country. For example, and also, people, you got to go to work. You don't want to carry your headset, or it's out of charge. And so we want to make this supplementary way for people to check it out. It was really important to us that it not be kind of a cheap, watered down version of Walkabout. We really, this is what took so long for the team. You may not know that Walkabout started off as a phone game. And then the Oculus team at the time saw it, was like, oh, we think this would actually be really good on VR. And so Lucas developed that. But when we came back to it, the whole thought was we want to do a mobile mini golf game like it's never been done before. So it's truly like a rectangular slice of the three-dimensional world. It's like you can, fully look around at the entire space. We got a couple different modes. We can either swing the phone and use the accelerometer and get a really dialed in putt, or there's also more of a standard sort of like, we call it touch to putt, that you can just sort of drag and release. But as people playing the game together, the whole idea is that, Edward could be in a VR headset, I can be on the phone. We're both avatars. We can both, look at each other and talk and look around. And so it's amazing. Even early on, we were testing it out. Like, I immediately accepted those people as being, full Walkabout players in the space with me. And so it's a really nice way to sort of get in and just kind of get playing in a quicker sort of way. So we're excited about it.
Something David said there is very, very true. It was amazingly easy to make a fine version of it. Mm-hmm. It was perfectly fine. We've had sort of an in-company test version of it for literal years, and it was perfectly adequate. But it's really hard to make it good, and we wanted to make sure that it was really, really good. And it is. It's really fun. It's quite different in its own unique and fun way, but there's finally a reason that I can publicly tell people as to why I have so many selfie sticks. Because you can put the phone in, and it's a brilliant club.
Yeah, indeed.
Oh, that's genius.
The other thing is that, we didn't want to create like this whole beast unto itself, like a whole mobile game on the side that we had to then develop in parallel, because we want to keep the team small. We're totally player funded. We're completely independent, no investors. And so even though this has been a lift to get this off the ground, and there's a small team that deserves so much praise for really getting it going, the idea is that it's really just one game again. So it's merged back in. It's going to be the same game. And so I think we'll have, the DLCs will be releasing shortly after they're launched on VR. Soon they'll be day one. But the idea is that it's a one-to-one. So we didn't want to create this whole other thing where if mobile gain steam, where it's like, oh no, we got to divert resources over to the mobile team and then VR suffers. No, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make sure that it's just the same game. And then, there's a few features that kind of can't work on mobile. But the whole idea is that, again, if like we're sharing the space, you want to be able to say, ooh, right over here, look, there's a lost ball, and have the mobile player scoot over there and be able to check it out, and not like, well, I don't see that on my version. What are you even talking about, right? We wanted to have a real sense of shared space. So that was a challenge to make right, but I think it'll be worth it in the end for players that are together.
So if I find all the balls using my phone, it'll carry over into my headset?
It will not. So there's no real like a cross progress system or a cross buy that will work. And the reason is that, like all platforms, Apple Store wants their sort of percent, they want their cut. And so they, want you to rebuy. But also we don't like to collect or have any kind of data from our players. That's on y'all's end associated with your headset and your profile, but we don't want to have like a login that you have to like log in multiple places, that we have to hold everyone's data. There is no real way to do cross buy with like a phone and a VR headset. But cross progress was going to mean just a huge amount of data, if it is even possible. I think it was just going to be kind of untenable. And we're going to be compliant with all the international laws. So I think our best solution is just a simple solution where guest pass works, and kind of understanding also that while some people might get the phone and have that be their way into Walkabout, most people it's going to be a supplementary sort of way. So you might, collect the balls and make some shots, but the core for VR players is going to remain on their VR headset, where they can have all their lost balls together and all their progress consolidated. So.
Okay.
There was a really incredible moment, sorry to talk over you, where we had a full company retreat, which was honestly my first time meeting most of the people. For people who haven't caught up on my nasally twang, I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
And we had this really wonderful discussion where we went, okay, well, do we want to be tracking, things, even just for fun stats, going, you've hit this many miles or you've lost this many balls sort of thing. And we basically all came together and went, no, we don't want people's data. There's nothing you can do apart from a couple fun facts that really sort of isn't evil. And it was antithetical to what we wanted. It was a great discussion because a great catch up really, because another discussion, we figured out the law behind everything, which will die with me, but we know exactly why everybody is where it is and why. Yeah. So hope you enjoy knowing that they're all murdered for a reason.
Oh man, the potential down the lines, and kind of onto the iOS.
It's a very respectful answer though. No, I actually like, I mean, if at the end of the day, look, it's like, there's things we'd like to do. It'd be cool to do, but it involves collecting data, and we don't want our hands in that. And that's not what we're about. And if that's what suffers because of it, so be it. But we're going to move forward. So, I mean, no, that's a strong answer.
And
and I think just to kind of like add a little to that is like, so all of a sudden, if we have to keep up with international laws on everyone's data, we got to have more servers, more people, more law firms. We got to charge more. It creates a lot of drag and a lot of slowness and a lot of like just sort of risk for everybody, players included. Because in different places, you're just like, to have your data removed, and then we have to like have a whole system for that. And so we wanted to be as streamlined and as ethical and above the board as possible, and be able to stay independent and affordable, for everyone. So that's a big part of our reason there is like conscionable, but also it's just the most practical thing to do is just go data light as light as we possibly can.
Something David said there, we do try and keep a small team. We don't want to charge. Effectively, there's a big internal discussion. We try and keep things as cheap and as accessible as possible. And having a small team allows that. So many of these new fun features we're putting in, it's like, oh, we can afford to put those in for free. So we will. Just put in as much fun and as much joy as possible. Yeah, we've got to charge for courses, but that also helps mean that we can afford to put more wild stuff into the game, which is, means that we can do things like guest pass, where if one person has the course, not everyone has to buy it. Everyone can still come and enjoy it, which to me and to basically all of us is really important. Just making sure as many people as possible can access this while making it sustainable.
Well, nothing's worse than when you go to play a multiplayer game with your friends and it's like, I don't have that DLC. Yeah, then you can't. So the fact you can share it is amazing. And I love seeing Walkabout come to the mobile devices, iOS for now, one day Android, because it means, Walkabout gets introduced to more players. I'm VR first, always will play it primarily VR, but I even dream of the day that we see Walkabout with a Steam, computer version on the Nintendo Switch, on PlayStation, on Xbox, just so, like you said.
I'm so bummed it's not on Xbox.
I think it's a game that works on every console. Again, you guys know me. It's VR first with me. It's sure. VR tried and true, but I think it's a game that, like Demio, works on all these other platforms, and I think it just introduces it to more players. So I'm stoked to see it on the mobile devices. I'm sorry to throw more work at you all with my wants and dreams. We could do that all day with course wishes. But, I dream of the day that we see this on all platforms, because it's really a game that I think, how can you not be in a good mood playing Walkabout? It's a game that I think anybody will enjoy on any platform. So
it relieves stress. Yeah. Might create a little, but it relieves stress. If you find all the balls, you're golden.
Yeah, and I think, we know that a lot of people use Walkabout as their first introduction to VR and show somebody else. But, explaining VR, demonstrating VR is notoriously difficult. Like, you have to kind of be there. There's a little bit of a price barrier. Some people are icked out about putting the thing on their face, or they did VR 10 years ago. They didn't like it. They didn't like that experience. And so our whole thing is, if you can give people like a super easy way in with a device that's already in their pocket, and they can check it out and get a sense for it and a feel for it, they may well, kind of migrate over to VR on their own and kind of understand, like, oh, that's what an immersive world is. Oh, that's what being in a space together is like. Cool. And then I think what will happen naturally is you'll be able to make better shots in VR. You can fly in VR. There's all these things you can do. People are like, oh, how did you do that? Oh, I'm in VR. Oh my God, that is worth it. And then people will kind of tell each other about the benefits. We don't have to like put it in their face or get them off from features in an artificial way. People will just do what they've always done, which is help explain, teach, bring each other along. So hopefully it'll help grow VR a little bit and grow the player enjoyment along with it.
I don't think it's going to be bad for VR at all. And I agree. If you're playing on your phone and you're seeing people do things that, like, well, how do I get that function?
Wave. Like, wave. I think just waving alone is the most selling point possible.
Walk right up to you.
Yeah. Like, hey, how do I do the wave emote? I'm sorry.
You can't.
Yeah. And I'm glad. I hope it doesn't kill VR. I would hate for VR, the whole industry to die, and them to go, oh, that, do that.
No, I think
Candy Crush it.
I think the attitude is correct, that if anything, people will play it and go, I want to play it in VR. And when you look at some of the most popular VR experiences, such as Rec Room, that's a game that, coincidentally enough, Rec Room's not my cup of tea either, but, I'll recognize their popularity and success. That's available on every platform, possible. So,
Oh, yeah. I got a newspaper the other day and it was playable on that. Open the book, it was there. It's everything.
The old Nokia phones,
yeah, exactly.
One of those things.
Newspaper.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
On the GameCube, it was really life changing.
Yeah. GameCube.
So, what else is in the works at Walkabout? Recently
give us more.
had a remastered Cherry Blossom, new course with Margot.
All right, before we even get there, because there is a course that's been remastered, is it an assumption that everything's getting remastered
all
at
the
some
OGs
point? All except for new courses, which are already remastered out of the gate? I mean, give me something.
So, obviously, not going to commit to or comment on anything, that seriously. Want to keep things a surprise. But I know especially Tourist Trap, more than anything else, would drive us all a little bit nuts, because it was so early. It was so different to what we were able to do and push. And every time someone plays the game for the first time, they played Tourist Trap. Every time they'd be like, oh, we got a NBA player into VR. and they played this game. It was always the first version of Tourist Trap, and it would be just after we'd released like Labyrinth or something like that, or some or Meow, or something ridiculously full of life, and we're sort of there, eye twitching, going, it's Tourist Trap again. It's Tourist Trap again. It's not what we can do, and so we really just had to be like, okay. We gotta make it better. We gotta make it better. If this is people's first experience, it's got to be a really, really special one. And so that was certainly a motivation for Tourist Trap and Cherry Blossom. But beyond that, no comment.
I hope you realize how like poetic that is. Like it is literally a tourist trap. Like you go to a city, you don't want to visit the tourist trap. It's not the best the city has to offer. It's a tourist trap. That is literally. Man. You couldn't have scripted that better because it's organic player behavior, but the course called Tourist Trap is literally a tourist trap for people visiting Walkabout.
Exactly.
Oh no! What is that? You're doing quick, David. Let's push back the old one.
It's so poetic and beautiful. Oh man, that's awesome.
I just can't wait for all the surprises coming in 25.
Yeah,
this is just
so many great
what
things
we know, but it's like.
Dude,
courses are coming quicker. Silent drops are happening.
Look at these last couple months. We have remastered course. We have new game modes. We have Mars.
Yeah.
We have the Puzzling Place collab. So what else, if you don't mind me?
Yeah. So, by the time this episode airs, we'll have a few new things coming down the line. So one of them is our next Evil Lair will be announced. So it's our just
so it's official.
My favorite.
Yeah, you're right. So this is 8-Bit Lair. It feels weird to say it out loud because I haven't done so yet. Extremely. So it's
like you're saying something wrong. Like
yeah, exactly. Go fight it. 8-Bit Lair. So we're taking people to 1983 for a video game hacker course. And so I know before we started recording, we were talking about like Pong and Brick Breaker and all those great arcade classics. We're really taking people there with new gameplay modes, a new DLC that's going to be really aesthetically totally different from what people have come to expect from Walkabout. So we're fully going there. So it's going to be I'll go. The name of the villain I don't think we have under wraps is wait, let's make sure I get this right.
Captain Villain?
No. What I'm getting his last name mixed up in my head. It's Vector is his last name, first name.
Sunday. That's what we're saying. Victor Vector.
I think Vincent Vector is what it is. That's what it was.
Victor sounds like what have we done?
It is. But basically, yeah. I mean, it's this incredible world. It's really, we talked earlier about optimizing for performance and like cramming in as much as possible. This course is probably the king of that, just in terms of like a tech art marvel of cramming in as much as possible. It's really going to be, I think, a mind blower for people. So that's coming out October 24th. And with that, we had an idea that Edward cooked up. It's probably been a full year now. But we wanted to do some other sort of like collaborations. And so I'll let Edward tell you what he came up with, and I'll talk about kind of how it's manifesting out in the world. But go for it, Edward.
A while ago, I was thinking, now we've got Walkabout on VR headsets. We're bringing Walkabout to phone. What are we missing? So I'm doing a bit of a quick Google, and it turns out there's the greatest selling computer of all time, and we are nowhere near it. Obviously, we needed to port to the Commodore 64. To those who aren't familiar, the Commodore 64 is a computer that was released in 1983, running on the 6502 microprocessor. A lot of computers ran this. It's used in modern technology still. I'm pretty sure the original Furby ran on it. And I'm thinking, well, clearly, the Furby and the Commodore 64 need to be able to run Walkabout. So I lock myself in the room, grab out a whole bunch of textbooks, and start slamming through assembly code. And after a couple of months, I realize I'm getting nowhere, it's no fun, and this is terrible. So instead, I decided to recreate the experience in a modern gaming engine and put together a web game version of what I'm calling Walkabout 64. It is a 2D, 8-bit, point-and-click sort of playable version of Walkabout Mini Golf. Not all the levels, unfortunately, but it is exactly how the Commodore 64 would have rendered it. Correct resolution, pixel stretching, so I can get more colors on the screen in each cell at a time. I went and learned how to compose music so I can recreate Chris Raymond's incredible soundtrack using the 6502 wasn't the sound processor in the Commodore 64, but let's pretend it was actually processing it for the SID chip. But we have a version of Walkabout that is Commodore 64 appropriate, I should say.
I think that's freaking amazing.
Yeah. And so, like, Edward actually had this maybe fully a year ago, maybe even more than that. And we April Fools came and went. We're like, no, it's not the right time. Let's save it for this 8-bit course that's coming out. And so what we've decided to do is it's going to be playable on our website, which is mightycoconut.com/minigolf. But also we have this great partnership with Arcade Legend, which is like a full VR arcade experience. And they're building an old school arcade cabinet for Edward's video games. You're able to go in this arcade, hang out, and play the arcade version of the game in that arcade. You can bowl there. They've got skee ball. They've got a bunch of other classic games as well. So it's really like a little side adventure after you do 8-bit Lair and Walkabout. You'll be able to head over to Arcade Legend, hang out in the arcade, and try to challenge each other. We think it's a fun way to kind of, especially give props to like people who lived through the 80s and 80s video games. Centipede was my personal game. But we really want to, hear from people in terms of, sure, can they beat, Tourist Trap and Walkabout 64, but also like, what was their high score in Space Invaders or Galaga or whatever it was? What was their first gaming console? So we think it's going to be a fun way to kind of harken back. And yeah. And what I love about it is that we're just seeing, we did something with Synth Riders. We talked about Puzzling Places earlier, Arcade Legend. More and more people want to play. And with our licensing ideas we're making, we're bringing things in. People have taken Walkabout and doing it other places. And we feel like it's really how, people talk about the metaverse. I think it's really a chance for indie devs to kind of start making it happen, poking through in different ways and making little side experiences show up in different places. So it's not just all these siloed buckets of experiences and different VR headsets, or different VR experiences rather, but it's a chance for us to kind of, play with one another. And that's been the great fun is, we talked to those guys. They were like, yeah, this sounds like fun. We'll get to work on it. We're going to take apart Edward's code, build it into this cabinet. So it's just been super fun.
And I would love to take the opportunity to apologize to all of them there. This being a project I was working on in my spare time, just for fun for me, really. Yeah. Did not expect professionals from a different company who I can't repeatedly grovel in front of to look through my code because, oh boy, I was looking through it. That is embarrassing. So I'm just going to put it on the record. I am super sorry, guys. For what you've been able to solve through Arcade Legend there.
But they've been up for it. Like they've been sort of like, oh, this is fun and let's try it out. So same with Puzzling
Those guys
Places.
are such a hoot. They're so solid. They're such nice guys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think this is, people ask us what makes for a good licensing partner. It's like, certainly it's got to fulfill certain things, like a large number of our players want to spend time there. There's got to be a sense of place, but it's like, we want to play with people who want to play. They don't want to just make a business deal and go off and do it. It's like, we want to be able to make something new, kind of expand their IP. And the same is true when we're licensing with people. It's like, we want them to have fun with it and kind of take it to a new place that we couldn't or wouldn't have taken it to. So it's been a great pleasure. We hope players will enjoy it as well.
I'm just loving seeing all the collaboration going around.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, there's no downside to it for any game. I don't just name a game. It's like if somehow there's Walkabout involvement, it's going to be pretty cool. So, I mean,
No, I think,
Again, just
like
another wow moment, you know?
I got to meet you, Brian, at Connect on the Meta headquarters a couple of weeks ago. And it's so, to me, like the touching part of the VR community is that people want to see each other succeed. Like there's a real sense of like, let's do this thing. It doesn't matter if you're talking to people from Sony, solo devs, really big shops, Gorilla Tag, whatever. Everyone is like, what are you doing? Let's share some tips. People just want to bring each other along. They really want to see everyone do well. And so I think that's true of players too. Like if someone pipes up on social media about VR, it's like, what are your suggestions? And people swarm in. Well, here's a game I like. What are your limitations? Here's something I suggest. And so I think it's just a great thing about the nascent nature of the technology. People want to see it go, and they want to see other people do well with it. So it's just a wonderful thing, sure.
Yeah, Connect was just a love fest amongst developers. They were just like, all praising each other, all happy to see each. There's nothing of that
Tech
like
stock. We won't call it Woodstock. We'll call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
but that vibe is there. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna have
Everybody
to
is
go
helping
next year.
everyone.
I missed out. I'll
Yeah.
hop on a plane, get down to Meta headquarters, and go. Hello, Mark.
The chicken tenders were pretty lit.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the cafeteria was nice for sure. But it's just an easy vibe because everyone was there in person and we could, sidle up to anyone. And like you go to a normal conference and it's usually in the middle of a convention center in a city and people are kind of bouncing off to do this and that. But there it's like all on the campus. You know that if you see someone over someone's shoulder, it's like, I can't grab them right now, but I'll catch them later on or I'll grab them here in a minute. It was just a great way to kind of get stuff done, actually. You could hang out and meet people finally, which is really, really nice, but also you could like corner an engineer from Meta and be like, here's what we want to do. What do you have in mind? And so that was really, really cool as well. But that's exactly, how the Puzzling Places thing started is just, and same with Arcade Legend is it just started as kind of a collegial friendship of just kind of sharing ideas. And then, when we had the idea of partnering, they were just like, all right, yeah, we already know and trust you. Let's make it happen. So we see a lot of that going around all around the VR community. So it's a really great thing.
I remember playing Arcade Legend a bunch with you when it came out. You could visit each other's arcade in it too.
Yeah, you can build your own arcade. It's really a lot of fun.
An arcade with nothing but walkabout cabinets.
Exactly. Just
It's a dream.
Every course has its own.
I just wonder how many more collaborations we're going to see. I have a feeling a whole bunch, but
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, David wasn't lying about shaking down the, Meta engineers going, every headset needs to come with a whole golf club in it. Just a tracked golf club for us alone. It shan't work with any other game.
Well, am I crazy that you said that the Puzzling Places devs scanned a few courses? Am I crazy?
Yeah, they did. We gave them just like, I want to say 3 or 4 of them, and they just settled on Cherry Blossom. But yeah, they were definitely, and I think if we'll see how it kind of performs if people go over and check it out. We might put together a pack of them. So we kind of, our whole MO at Walkabout, this is really led by Lucas, is like, what can we do like, with a little bit of effort and some elbow grease and some collaboration. So things like beach ball and like the first slingshot mode was just sort of like, let's try something out, put it down and just see if people pick it up and play with it. And then based on how they use it, we see it on content, we see it on analytics. We're like, oh, okay, that's how they're using it. Now let's really roll up our sleeves and put a lot of work into it. Instead of, I think my sense is the traditional game studio way is you get a bunch of investors, you spend 2 years on a moonshot, you're like, we think this is going to be a thing, and you do it. And then it takes off, and then you're like, well, that's going to take 2 more years to iterate on that. We want to be quick and sort of responsive to how players are doing things. So yeah, that's just kind of, we operate with our partners in that same sort of way of like, let's put it out there, see what they do with it. And then if players are into it, we'll double down just more, we're
To
here for
iterate
it.
on something David said there, when he says we look at, sort of player response, it really is David just going through every single thing online. He just turning through as much sort of content as he can to see what people are doing. So if you want more of something, get out there, start making content. Just slap up on Instagram or something, just you playing and showing what you like the most. Because honestly, that is our analytics. When we say analytics, we're not tracking anyone. We're literally scrolling as
Yeah, that's
fast
true.
as we can, going, what do they like? What do they like?
It's true. It's true. Well, and also we understand that, like, you know, there's Discord people, and those people are generally like very engaged, tech forward, younger by and large. But that's like a small subset of our players, and an important subset. But there's, you know, seniors who are over on Facebook. There's people that aren't following us anywhere. So we've got to kind of like reach them and understand them in different ways. We have to kind of, like you talked earlier about how you mentioned Walkabout somewhere, we pop up and give you a get for something. We try to like pay attention to all the different places people are mentioning us, even if they just say VR mini golf. We're like, we like to kind of pop in because, you know, we know that our players aren't all capital G gamers. There's a lot of super casual people that are just kind of, this is the only game they play. But yeah, we try to really, as Edward said, really, really pay attention to what people are liking, what they're enjoying. And it's sometimes, it can be one player. One player is like, I'm having a little difficulty, you know, with the light on this one. I can't see well enough. And it's like, we circle up like, oh, it's a quick fix. We can make an accessibility feature there. If one player's experiencing it, there's probably 1,000 more. Let's try to make that, if it's possible and doable quickly, we'll do that sort of thing. Sometimes it'll just be trends, you know, we'll see it over time. You know, we like to say it's on the list, but the list is very long because people have lots of desires about, you know, things that they're wanting, certain ball designs that they're wanting, or certain putters, or certain IP collaborations. Like, yes, it's on the list. And it's just what order we can get to it in. So
it's so good though when people ask for something, and we work so far in advance, especially on the art team. People go, "Oh, I really want this," and I'm sitting there going, in like 18 months, you're going to be the happiest person alive, and you don't know it yet.
There was something we talked about with that, and I forget the exact context, but I remember going back in a previous interview with Edward, and he was, you know, you could see the excitement
of stuff that he knew was coming that he couldn't talk about. Yeah.
So a bit
Yeah,
unrelated
I think in every interview, there'll always be a reference that one of you guys say, I'd love to see this. And I'm going, you don't know it yet, but you're going to be so happy in an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, I still want my lightsaber putter.
Sure. I mean, we got courses planned out, you know, totally planned out to the end of next year, and then, you know, desires and sketches beyond that. But people always ask, what's your favorite course? It's like, I can't tell you. I've been playing it, and it's great.
You haven't played it yet.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It's coming out soon, you know. But there really are some, like, we are making some big leaps in the next year in terms of kinds of worlds, mechanics, all kinds of surprise modes and other features, and just kind of new realms and possibilities within Walkabout. It's really going to be coming alive in a way that we couldn't even have dreamt of, you know, 2 or 3 years ago. So I think it's going to be an exciting era for sure.
So
honestly, the amount of changes in the last 12 months is massive, just behind the scenes. The amount of stuff we're able to get in. Everyone here works their best when they're all putting in the stuff they love, and it's just ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. It's just, I mean, compare where the game was 1 year ago, and it feels so different. And we're working a year in the future, and I'm just like, I'm so excited for you guys.
It's true. So true.
So basically, we're going to need to keep having the coconuts on every couple months, because it sounds like things aren't slowing down.
Sounds like there's a lot of stuff coming.
Third podcast host. I'm pitching it now. Just saying. Third podcast host, me or David. We can swap out week on, week off.
Yeah, I want to be sort of like the end of the couch, like Ed McMahon or Paul Schaefer from David Letterman, just sort of be like,
just chill.
I would say Walkabout Talk About, but you all already nailed that name with the
I remember
the Walkabout Talk Abouts. Yeah.
Yep. I foolishly hadn't caught the name yet. I think it's even on an episode. I'm like, it'd be a great freaking podcast for Mighty Coconut.
Walkabout Talk About.
Walkabout Talk About.
And I go, that is their podcast name.
Oh, I just sung.
Great minds think alike.
Well, that's kind of how I played it off. I go, well, that just shows you how great of a freaking name it was if they picked it. So
unrelated to Walkabout, I got to ask before we wrap this thing up too, because I know how much of a fan you were of Myst, and it's obviously Riven's not on Walkabout. but it came out in VR. Have you gotten a chance to hop in?
I had a timer for the second it launched. Oh, I wish I could
That's
have
awesome.
raised my mind to play it again because I went through it far too fast. The first time, playing it in the, in the 90s, it took me sort of weeks of just wandering back and forth, turning things. Why doesn't this work? And I sort of wished I'd had that again in VR because I could have just lived there. It's stunning. The team at Cyan are so freaking talented. I hope they listen because I just want to. I know we've worked with them, but I'm such a fan of everything they do. They're so freaking incredible. Oh my God, guys.
Yeah, I remember because we talked to Edward right before the Mist DLC came out, and
The
I remember
excitement was real.
Yeah, I remember how big of a fan Edward was. And David and Edward, before we wrap this thing up too, is there anything that we didn't touch on today? I know we got some goodies of things coming soon. And
It's crazy. I could easily talk another hour.
I heard more Evil Lairs. I could have closed shop right there. I love Evil Lairs. That's all I needed to hear is
That's
more Evil Lairs coming soon.
Yep.
So I'm hyped on that.
Yeah,
I have a request for the players, effectively, but I'm using you as a platform. I need you guys to post when you find an Easter egg, because I'm fairly sure there is at least 1.5 bodies I hit on Upside Town that I've never seen anyone mention. Thinking of Mist, there are things in that level I hit that I have never seen mentioned online. There are so many references and Easter eggs that we're putting in, and I'm sitting here going, are you guys getting them all? You guys get... I'm going to spoil one for Upside Down. There is a half-buried body in the vegetable patch above the photography store, under the pumpkin leaves. I've never seen anyone mention it.
We need a Walkabout Wikia.
Yeah. Good idea. I think the other thing that I'll sort of say as a platform is like, we appreciate the the Lost Ball and Foxhood videos, but there's a lot of those. Like, let's get some like Easter egg videos, because there's one player in particular that does like, he'll regularly say all the Easter eggs, and we're like, nope, that's like 30%. That's so many more.
Good. They're really good. They are getting a lot of them. But I'm just sitting there going, we don't know. A few more videos to go.
Yeah, we should probably
careful saying all.
Yeah, we should like count the dead bodies and just send people scrambling to see which ones they have or not. So
count the dead bodies in the game. Yeah. Okay, that's very sensible.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Yeah. That's exactly that.
You should comment on his stuff and go, no, that was 7.
Yeah, no, we do.
7 of 18.
We're like,
but it's such a labor of love.
I know.
They put so much effort in, and I don't want to walk in and be like, fool.
Yeah, we want to encourage them, but yeah, we do sort of hint that like a little bit more around that corner. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wowza, that's gonna start a fire.
I know.
Yeah,
so Easter egg hunters.
Well, I
Summit.
I think at Connect, David mentioned something about Easter eggs, and I'm like, well, of course everybody's found them, but it seemed like 30%. Seemed like it was being said, so I was like, I walked away. I think that's where I heard it.
Easter
then this is sort of like
I
think this is sort of like a good ending point, which is, Lucas tries really hard to keep it simple and intuitive, and especially for new players that come in, you can play with just one button. You just kind of amble in. Everyone knows how to hit a ball with a stick. But we've had so many questions of like, why don't you just like teach people how to fly out of the gate? Why don't you point out the skeletons? Why don't you show all these things? It's like, well, we don't want to overwhelm people. We don't think there should be like a 30-minute tutorial at the front of the game. That just seems fundamentally wrong. The other is, I think you sort of rob people of the joy of running into another player and then be like, oh, you know how to fly yet? I don't know how to fly. Teach me how to fly. What? Like that is one of the best possible things you can do in Walkabout. And so, or like, oh, look over here on this corner and follow me, and you fly off like Peter Pan and you trail after them and, find that one thing. It's like, that is the great joy of finding a hidden cave in the backwoods of your house, or showing somebody a tree fort they never knew about. That is the joy of Walkabout Mini Golf. And so we really do try to, we want the basics. We want it to be intuitive we don't want people to feel stupid when they get in the game or feel like they're not worthy of playing the game. That's why we don't showcase like leaderboards in a big way. Is like, every player is important. Everyone, doesn't matter how you come at the game, you matter in Walkabout. But we want to make it there to be a kind of a layered sense of discovery. So every time you go, there's something around the corner that you hadn't noticed before or that you hadn't tried yet. And so we've got so much more of that coming up in the next few months and next year. Definitely, there's just so many more things sprouting out of the game.
Never ends.
I love the organic progression, and you hit it right, because I even thought of myself while you were saying it. You know, first time I played it, just went in and enjoyed the game for what it was. It's mini golf. I want to experience it. Had fun, learned about the hidden balls. Didn't go deep into it, but found a couple.
Yep.
But flying, I remember like feeling kind of left out the first time I found out you could fly. I'm like, I don't know how to fly. And then once it was explained, I was like, oh my God. So I love the just organic progression. The longer you play, the more you're going to want to explore, go stick your head into things, go look for things.
Or like us just recently fall in love with the fox hunts.
Yeah,
you know,
it
like
wasn't our jam. It was, the hard mode 100%, but like going out of my way for a putter. And then I started seeing people with like big collections. And I'm like, man, why did we never do all these? And now I have such an appreciation just for that aspect of the game, but it never stops being fun,
Yeah. And always some of our funnest interviews as well too. So thank you, David and Edward, for
Edward
taking the time to talk with us. It sounds like I said, that we'll have no shortage of things to talk about with the coconuts in the coming
we'll
year.
Be yelling Edward's name for definitely throughout 2025, right?
Yay.
lots of ear ringing.
Awesome. And to the listeners, I don't know if you haven't tried Walkabout yet.
My God.
Hell, it's on the Quest Plus catalog, which like to me,
that's crazy move.
Yeah, ballsy.
Just to say it.
Yeah. Then I don't know how you could get it though and not buy the
put
DLCs.
It out there.
Walkabout DLC.
A cup of coffee costs more.
Yeah, the Walkabout DLC will always be the best $4 you'll ever spend too. So
before you say, remember when they went up in price and how apologetic on the
$1
socials?
extra.
We are so sorry we had it was like the most apologetic thing I'd ever heard. And I'm like, they're really talking about it. But people are like posting, I'll pay $5 extra, whatever,
So to the listeners,
crap.
if you haven't yet,
keep your money. Keep your money.
If you haven't yet,
we want
checked
it to
out
be cheap and accessible, and everyone can play it. But if you haven't played Walkabout, may I recommend anyone listening who hasn't tried Walkabout Mini Golf, please, available on your closest VR headset and soon your closest phone.
Ooh, and hopefully one day even more devices. But you guys are always the best. We love our coconuts, the crazy coconuts. Listeners, if you're a fan of Walkabout too, go obviously rate it 5 stars on the store, but go join their Discord, their community. So much of Walkabout is that community vibe and
the bond.
It's just good vibes from top to bottom. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us as always. And I cannot wait to hear more of what's coming through, the end of 2024 and 2025. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all.